Have you ever seen a major corporation make an incredibly foolish decision even though the office is filled with graduates from the world's top universities? Or perhaps you found yourself joining a strange office trend just because everyone else was doing it, even though deep down you knew it made no sense. Welcome to the paradox of crowd psychology. We often think that intelligence is a shield. We believe that if we have a master's degree or a high IQ, we can't be influenced by mob mentality. But we have to tell you one harsh reality. The human brain has an automatic synchronization feature when entering a large system we call the machine. In this power play arc, we've discussed structure and strategy, but today we're going to dive into the most subtle yet deadliest part, the psychology of the people within it. Why do smart people become blind followers? Why does the voice of conscience often lose to the voice of the majority? There are 5 crowd logics working behind the scenes of every organization and business. Let's break down the logic one by one. 1. Conformity, peer pressure. The first logic is conformity. The basic reasoning is simple. Humans are social creatures who are deeply afraid of being ostracized. We would rather be wrong together than right alone. Have you heard of the Solomon-Asch experiment? In it, one person was tested alongside several others who were actually actors. They were asked to choose which line was the longest from a very obvious set of images. When the actors intentionally chose the wrong answer, even the smart test subjects often followed along just because they didn't want to look different. In the organizational world, this is the "don't be the weird one" protocol. During a meeting, if everyone says, "This plan is great," you, who know the plan will fail, will feel a heavy weight on your tongue. You fear being seen as disloyal or uncooperative. Eventually, your logic surrenders to the majority voice. Conformity is the glue that holds an organization together, but it's also the prison that kills innovation. You stop being a thinking individual and start being part of a blind chorus. 2. Groupthink, blind consensus for harmony. If conformity is about the individual surrendering to the group, groupthink is a condition where the entire group collectively loses its logic for the sake of maintaining harmony. Its main slogan is, "The important thing is that we all agree." The logic is this. In a highly solid business team, there's an unwritten pressure not to create conflict. Providing sharp criticism is seen as an act that destroys team harmony. As a result, the group creates its own reality bubble. They ignore bad external data and focus only on information that makes them feel comfortable. Groupthink is the reason why giant companies like Nokia or Kodak could collapse. It's not because they didn't have smart people, but because those smart people were too busy preserving each other's feelings and agreeing with the leader's decisions without daring to offer an alternative perspective. They feared a debate in the boardroom more than the future destruction of the company. In the eyes of the machine, this false harmony is the beginning of systemic failure. 3. Social loafing, becoming a collective free rider. This third logic is something we often encounter in school group projects or large corporate departments: social loafing. The logic is this: the more people there are in a team, the lower the individual contribution per person tends to be. In harsh terms, it's a tag-along event. Why do smart people become lazy in a group? Because their logic tells them, well, even if I don't give it my all, someone else will do the work. No one will notice if I only put in 20% effort anyway. The responsibility that once sat heavy on one person's shoulders gets divided until it feels light or even vanishes. In large organizations, this is a deadly parasite. You feel busy even though you're just attending meetings that could have been resolved via email. You feel like you've contributed even though you're just riding on someone else's progress. Social loafing happens because the machine fails to provide clear individual accountability. When success and failure become collective property, individuals tend to choose the path of least resistance. 4. Deindividuation, the loss of self-identity. This is the most terrifying part. Deindividuation is a condition where you lose self-awareness and personal morality because you feel yourself merging into the mass. When you wear the same uniform, shout the same chants, and have the same common enemy, your identity as you slowly disappears, replaced by the identity of us. The logic is anonymity and the spread of emotion. When you are in the middle of an emotional crowd, for instance during a mass boycott or when bashing a competitor on social media, you will do things you would never do alone. You feel safe because the responsibility is shared among thousands of people. In the business world, de-individuation makes employees brave enough to perform unethical practices to reach company targets. It's not my fault, it was a departmental order. You no longer feel like a human with morals, but just a bolt in a giant machine. You feel anonymous behind your big corporate logo, and that's when your critical logic dies completely. 5. Obedience to authority, blind obedience to hierarchy. We discussed hierarchy in the Predator episode, but here we discuss it from the perspective of compliance. Human logic has an automatic switch to obey those with symbols of authority, be it an expensive suit, a large desk, or a prestigious title. Remember the Milgram experiment? Ordinary and smart people were told to give painful electric shocks to others simply because they were ordered to by a man in a lab coat. The majority continued to do it even as they heard screams of pain. Why? Because they felt the responsibility shifted to the person giving the orders. I'm just doing my job. Within the machine, this logic is extremely powerful. When your boss tells you to manipulate a report or perform a dishonest act, your logic will try to find a defense. He's the boss, he surely knows better, and if anything happens, he's the one responsible. This blind obedience turns educated people into highly efficient tools for systemic wrongdoing. You no longer ask, is this right? You only ask, how do I get it done? So, why do smart people become blind followers? Logically, intelligence is just the processor, but psychology is the operating system. No matter how fast your processor is, if the operating system is designed to obey and synchronize with the group, the result will be the same. The machine, or an organization, needs synchronization to function. The problem is a synchronization that is too perfect makes the organization unable to see the hole in front of it. The smart people inside become intellectually numb because they're too comfortable in the embrace of the crowd. True strength in an organization is not being the smartest person, but being the most aware. Aware of when you start losing your identity, aware of when you start closing your eyes for the sake of harmony, and aware of when you start obeying blindly. Without individual awareness, a business is just a pack of high IQ zombies walking together toward the cliff of destruction. Thank you for watching till the end. If you like how we explain complex things to make them make more sense, don't forget to follow Synoptic. We will continue to discuss many everyday things that are actually fascinating as long as they are explained the right way. Synoptic, the world simplified, one thought at a time.